Welcome to the Be Progressive Show. I am Brandon Neal, and last night, on the eve of the snowocalypse, Tucker Carlson, knowing that this crazy snowstorm was coming, and the fact that Fox News is in complete tailspin over their, basically their messaging and the ignorance of their party has been put on full display in this last impeachment trial, that they are pretty desperate right now. They're trying to pull back some of the Newsmax people that left Fox to go to Newsmax. But like I said the other day, they can't really go too far right because they get into lawsuit territory. They are already there. So, seizing on this snowstorm, it's time for Tucker Carlson to do an anti-climate change video. You can imagine where this goes.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. Happy Monday. Well, the Green New Deal has come, believe it or not, to the state of Texas. And we're here with the report. How's it working out so far? Well, the good news
The Green New Deal is not just came to Texas. They've had windmills for decades.
is all that alternative energy seems to have had a remarkable effect on the climate, as intended. Last night, parts of Texas got to temperatures that we see in Alaska. In fact, they were the same as they were in Alaska. So global warming is no longer a pressing concern in Houston. We've solved that problem. The bad news is they don't have electricity. The windmills froze, so the power grid failed. Millions of Texans woke up to boil their water because with no electricity, it couldn't be purified. The ironically named Electric Reliability Council of Texas, which oversees the grid, had no solution to any of this. They simply told people to stop using so much power to keep warm.
So what he's saying here is that the windmills in Texas froze up because Texas, areas that do not get snow, got snow and ice due to climate change. Cell phone, Tucker. Cell phone right off the bat, buddy. You're batting 2 out of 2. Let's see what's going on here.
So in Houston, hundreds of shivering Texans headed to the Civic Center like refugees to keep from freezing to death. Some people in Texas almost certainly did freeze to death today. That's what happens when it gets that cold. Later this week, we'll learn just how many more as they tried to keep warm with jury-rigged heaters and barbecues and car exhaust. That happens every time. When the power goes out, even advanced societies become primitive and dangerous. People die. We've seen it happen repeatedly in California for years now. Rolling blackouts in a purportedly first world state that is slipping steadily into chaos. But in Texas? Who saw that coming? And not just because Texas is mostly Republican. If there's one thing you would think Texas would be able to do, it's keep the lights on. Most electricity comes from natural gas, and Texas produces more of that than any place on the continent. There are huge natural gas deposits all over Texas. Texas is an oil and gas state, famously. Running out of energy in Texas is like starving to death at the grocery store. You can only do it on purpose. And Texas did. Rather than celebrate and benefit from their state's vast natural resources, politicians took the fashionable route and became recklessly reliant on so-called alternative energy, meaning windmills. 15 years ago, there were virtually no wind farms in Texas. Last year, roughly a quarter of all electricity generated in the state came from wind. Local politicians were pleased by this. They bragged about it like there was something virtuous about destroying the landscape and degrading the power grid. Just last week, Governor Greg Abbott proudly accepted something called the Wind Leadership Award, given with...
Yeah, and that's something that I was going to say, too, is like all of the Republicans in this state that he is referencing have also been bragging about it. So you can't really have it both ways. You're either for, renewable energy or you're not. And so Tucker is saying that, this is renewable energy or climate change is all a grift. It's all a hoax, and it's all just a way for Democrats to make money. I mean, the third grade response, like he's just so dense, or is he? Or does he just play his stupid moron character because he gets paid a lot to do that, which is probably the case. He knows better. But all these Republicans in Texas have bragged about their climate, green energy renewal, and they bragged about how they're the trendsetter, and they are. I think Texas gets like over a fifth of their electricity from, renewable sources. And so we had a freak incident due to climate change that froze some wind turbines that by the end of the day, it's going to be 40 degrees in Texas. So it's not going to freeze for a very long time, nor is this ever going to, happen often until, if we let climate change go, God knows. There's currently, it's kind of flip-flopped right now where all of the cold air that's normally up north is down south and all the warm air is up north. And so it's due to a weak jet stream, and it's directly related to climate change. But anytime to bash Democrats that push anything the Democrats push, they have to bash, even if it's going to help them. And it is going to help us. And we all know the evils of the oil and gas, industry and their corrupt businesses and how they corrupt, people like Tucker Carlson's in their back pocket, does anything they say anytime they say it. Fox News is the same way. There's money interest here in big oil. They do not want that to go away, and it's strictly because of money. He can sit here and talk all day about his faux outrage about how, it's hurting Texas people, and he doesn't give a shit about anybody but Tucker Carlson. So this is all just, utter horseshit that he's trying to take advantage of a storm and make disingenuous claims about green renewal and climate change.
Gratitude by a company getting rich from green energy. So it was all working great until the day it got cold outside. The windmills failed, like the silly fashion accessories they are, and people in Texas died. A lot more.
Those silly fashion accessories account, like I said, for over a fifth of all energy produced in the state.
More of them than died at the Capitol on January 6th, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we have to hear that real quick, because he had to throw, that has literally nothing to do with what we're talking about, but he had to put it in anyway, because they're still so butthurt over the insurrection. Listen to this.
And people in Texas died. A lot more of them than died at the Capitol on January 6th, by the way, just for reference.
Yeah, why? Why did we need that reference? I'm curious why we needed that reference, Tucker. Can you tell us? Oh, it's because you're an asshole. That's right. That's because you're so butthurt over your party, finally coming out and publicly announcing that they're terrorists and that they support the insurrection and political violence and trying to hang a vice president. That's what they support. So is that, what did that have to do with the story that we're talking about? Oh, it's just because you're butthurt. You can't get over it because your party finally revealed their true face to the world, didn't they, Tucker?
Now, we're telling you all of this not to beat up on the state of Texas. It's a great state, actually. But to give you some sense about what's about to happen to you, to every state. And we're not speculating on that. Here's the new president explaining his plan.
In my view, we've already waited too long to deal with this climate crisis. We can't wait any longer. That's why I'm signing today an executive order to supercharge our administration's ambitious plan to confront the existential threat of climate change. It is an existential threat.
Just reading the script. Climate crisis, existential threat, ambitious plan.
As he reads a script for the opposite of all of that, the opposite of anything good.
You hear those phrases a lot, and you'll notice that they are all suspiciously non-precise. So what do they mean for you? Well, they mean higher energy prices for starters. Gas is already up, in case you haven't noticed. Electricity will follow. Higher costs hurt the weakest. Inflation always does. But it's worse than that. Green energy inevitably means blackouts. And someday that may change as technology.
Yeah, that's literally not true. Yeah, it happened this one time. One fucking time. It happened because it got too cold. That's it. In the state that's a Republican-ran state where Republicans bragged about their green energy and their windmills. So, good try, Tucker. Good try. But we're going to cut you off right there because nothing else that you're going to say is legitimate. You're just purely disingenuous, political, biased hack. Just one of the worst. They don't get any worse than Tucker. One of the dumbest.